And for those of you who have not looked at the 18 November lesson from 10 minutes 40 onwards, I highly encourage it. It is quite funny. Our lesson today is further on COVID. It is called on viral maths. Viral maths. This is how an infection will spread initially in what appears to be a linear fashion. That is, where you can plot the infection on a graph, with the slope of the graph showing as the rate of infection, and then predicting the needs. Oh, so simple. 5 infected one day, 1 dies each day. That is linear. The M and the B, the slope and the plot. But viruses don't know maths. So don't multiply in a linear fashion for very long. What bad, bad viruses. So let's try an easy but sneaky word problem. Oh no, not a word problem. If each person in a group infects 2 others, and you have 100 people, starting with 2 infected, how long does it take to infect everyone in the group? 14 days. How many are infected on day 13? 50. And here's the tricky question. At what point were exactly half of the group infected? Hint, look at question 2. Day 13. So if your infection is infected 2 of every existing person, that means it doubles in size every day. And if it doubles in size, it is linear at first. But then, duh, it transforms. With viruses, it will one day switch from increasing linearly to, magic fairy sound, exponentially. It took Minnesota 3 months to reach 100,000 infection cases. Linear. It took 3 weeks to reach 200,000 cases. Exponential. It will take 14 days to reach 300,000. Exponential. And that is how it works everywhere with viruses, everywhere in the world. But there is hope. Look at the mortality data. From 17 March to 7 May, there were 500 deaths in 67 days. That is very slow. But from 7 May to 21 May, there were 500 more deaths. That is very, very fast. From 21 May to 12 July were the next 500 deaths. That's 53 days. From 12 July to 26 September were the next 500. That took 74 days. That is slow. Then 26 September to 12 November was 897 deaths. 47 days for almost 1,000 deaths. Very fast again. So from 17 March to 7 May, but is 500, but 14 days to reach the next 500. But then, even though the infections kept at a steady pace throughout June to August, the Minnesota infection mortality rate dropped by over 1/3, as we learned terrible, horrible lessons from those deaths 410 through 1021. How to more quickly recognize those cases that will go into the ICU days before they go, so that we can work to build up their strength, feed them, and get them as ready to battle as possible, while also using all of our medical skill, knowledge, and trickery to put off their entry into the ICU as long as possible, if not forever. For the ICU means a ventilator, and a ventilator means a 72% likelihood of death. For the cases 410 through 1021 were in the worst shape possible when they came in. All were already weak due to not eating and coughing, because coughing increases your expenditure of calories and reduces your ability to eat. Those who were in care, the homes they were in were put under suspension, requiring substantial retraining by all staff to show that they understood the priorities of the body functioning. It requires air always, food and water at regular intervals throughout each day. And if the patient isn't able to feed themselves, you must feed them in a quantity to satisfy but not overwhelm the body. Those that were living independently just had fallen behind the disease, and no one was helping or ever checking on them. Hint, check on all your friends, all your neighbours, and all of your family members. Every day. 277 of these patients went from the emergency department immediately to the ICU. No other cases ever went from admitting to the ICU in all of the 2,900 patients. Of the remaining 300, all went fewer than 5 days on bed before going to ICU, with an average of 2.7 days. For the remainder of the COVID patients, the average occupancy before ICU was 9 days, with an average of 5.7. So that shows that these patients were very different. But the deaths were teaching us many care rules, many medical treatment processes. I thank them in my prayers for their sacrifice, stupid as it was. For many of these were, "We don't need masks. This isn't real. It won't hurt me. I'm strong. So, if I get it, so what? I'm alone. No one will care." My personal favorite, "We won't hide. Our parents didn't hide in World War II. You wanna bet? What do you call blackout shades in the middle of the country? Bomb shelters in each yard, and driving at night with covered lights in Kansas City. One of these two fools died. One will be in the nursing home forever, unable to ever do self-care tasks. Our parents didn't hide my butt." All the rationalizing and justifications meant nothing as they lay dying alone, an iPad held up to each person's face so that the family could see them, so the family could say goodbye. But the COVID patient, they were already gone. They weren't able to see, weren't able to hear, for they were locked inside their own head, locked inside their own personal hell and deteriorating brains for 1 to 3 days prior to death. The use of the iPad or the visual was a standard of care recommended and performed by all Minnesota and US COVID care facilities. Now the virus has again double mutated. It has greater long organ effect on the younger patients, those under 40, and the heaviest mortality costs nationwide are being borne by the 42 to 67-year-old population, who are the least prepared emotionally, psychologically, financially, and spiritually. This is why, my sisters and brothers, I have stressed so greatly the Christ's lessons in the Gospels of humility and being prepared. And as a doctor of public health, with the training and education, specialized knowledge that he has given me, I work to educate each day on the virology and viruses in general, while reducing stupidity, the abyss of conspiracy theories that abound. The one theory I must remove is that this was done in China to hurt us. This is a naturally occurring virus. These COVIDs have occurred 77 times. Count, 77 times since 1951. But because during those times we did not travel the world, because during those times we did not have 24-hour news, they did not reach our newspapers. They have occurred 12 times in the former Soviet Union, 1979 to 1984, with over 1.5 million dead, but never known in the West until 1995. I have 44 other cases listed on my Facebook page. Please go look. No one ever realized how virulent and how common it was until they went to these countries after they opened up. They are just humans living in the same quarters as animals and fowl, as humans have always done over the centuries in the West, until after the Renaissance. But they have continued to do so in the East to this day. In the West, they were incorrectly labeled plagues, the sweating death, unique to the Henry VIII's time, and such things. This is merely history biting modernity in the assets, for we have failed to learn the lessons of the past. There is no conspiracy. This is nature. Learn from nature. Wear the bloody masks, you fools.